Hey there, builders. This is Spence from the Scale Auto Garage. I'd just like to give you a little bit of a story on this one. I find the Kei Truck has always been fairly fascinating, and there's a little bit of history on this one. So I thought I'd share that with you in this video. I saw my first Kei Truck on a trip to the Philippines way back in 2014. And in the Philippines, they're called multicabs, which is an interesting way of calling them, but they're K trucks, they're K vans, they're essentially all the small utility type vehicles imported from Japan. So I saw these there for the first time, and I was just like, wow, these are amazing. These are so cool. I've always been kind of a small car guy. I drove like a Honda Civic in the 80s. I drove a CRX. I had a Datsun 710 and even a Datsun 620 pickup, all which are pretty small cars. So when I saw this, I was like, "Oh my God, this thing is so tiny. It's absolutely like the smallest vehicle I've ever seen. It's like a go-kart." So yeah, I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So fast forward a couple of years, and I'm speaking with James from over on the scale model experiment. He's already on his 3D journey. He's been printing and experimenting and looking at different ways of creating model kits using a 3D printer. And he tells me about this K truck, and I was like, really? And he's shows me a picture of it, and I'm like, damn. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I so need that. And he's like, you know what? I'll send one to you. And I was like, damn, yes, sir. Thank you very much. So he packs one up and he sends it out my way. So a few weeks later, I get a box in the mail. It's from James, and I open it up, and inside he'd already kind of glued this together using some white glue, and I was like, man, this is amazing. It looks like it was a print from BlackBox, which you can find on Cults 3D or sort of any of the other 3D print setups, and so he had printed it out in this like custom fashion with all the ground effects and the rims and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh man, this thing is so cool. But I had no resin experience at that time. I'd never tried to do anything with resin. So I was a little intimidated by this little piece, and I didn't want to build it and mess it up and make a mess of things. So I decided to put it on the shelf and sort of just have it above my computer a little bit as inspiration or what have you to okay, eventually I'll get to a point where I'm comfortable in building this thing. So after a little bit of time, I experimented with a bunch of different resin kits. I built the Honda 660, the Ferrari Rainbow, the Alfa Romeo Carabao, the an Isuzu Elf tow truck, which was pretty cool, and more recently the PZY kitbox Yaris Evangelion. And so I worked with resin a few times, and I found that it's not quite as intimidating as I thought it was. Now there is a little bit of difference between those resin kits and a 3D printed resin. I find it similar to the differences between, say, a Tamiya kit and a Hasegawa kit. As the Tamiya kit, the styrene is a little bit softer, and the Hasegawa tends to be a little bit more brittle. They're both styrene, but the consistency of the plastics is a little bit different. This is similar. The resin from a 3D printer tends to be a little bit more brittle, and so you need to be aware of that while you're working on it. And as a matter of fact, this kit actually came with a little intercooler that attached to the front grill, and I wanted to drill out the intercooler a little bit so that I could attach some hosing so it looked a little bit better. And as soon as I put any kind of pressure from the drill bit into the intercooler, it just cracked and fell apart. So yeah, I was a little bit sad on that one. I didn't include the intercooler in this build, but is it's a pretty good learning experience. So knowing a little bit more on the consistency and the feeling of the resin, I feel a lot more confident in possibly obtaining more prints in the future and building up different types of vehicles and whatnot as a 3D print. 3D printing has really opened up the availability of stuff that aren't available in traditional styrene kits. So I think it's a really great time for modelers to be able to get their hands on things that maybe they were never able to get their hands on before. So it's a fantastic time for modeling in general, just having these opportunities open and these amazing designers coming up with all these really neat and interesting builds that we haven't been able to see before out of styrene kits. So when it comes to the process itself in the actual building of a 3D print, now this video isn't about the like actual printing process or any of that kind of stuff. If you are interested in that aspect of 3D modeling, I would suggest checking out James's channel. He goes really in depth in the whole printing process, the downloading of the files, the separation of everything, putting it on plates, printing it out, the best way for printing, etc., etc. So definitely check out his channel. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can uh, go directly to his channel, check out some of his printing videos, and yeah, the stuff he prints is really cool. I'm definitely have a little bit of jealousy there. A lot of stuff he prints, I would love to build myself, but of course, my backlog on styrene kits is actually quite extensive as well. So, I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole at this time. But anyway, the building process isn't really that different from building a styrene kit. There are a couple of things you need to think about, like getting rid of print lines, which, a lot of the more modern, the newer 3D printers are actually way better at getting those print lines like really toned down. And I'm pretty sure 3D technology will get to a point where the 3D print lines are essentially obsolete, which will be amazing. That will be an absolutely amazing time for 3D prints. You do need to use super glue when you're building it. Traditional glues don't necessarily work. You can use like a white glue, but white glue does have a tendency that you can pull it apart afterwards. Super glue gives you like a really strong bond, and there's many different types of super glues that you can use on the market. I find that for me, the very thin super glue that you can see here works quite well. It's good on the windows. It's good on the additional parts and whatnot. And yeah, it's a very thin super glue. I like using this a lot in these type of situations. The One of the biggest challenges with the 3D prints at the moment is actually Windows, and Windows are very dependent on how the item is designed, and you can use these like thin acetate sheets for doing windows, or a lot of times designers will include a buck, and you can use a vacuum forming process to create actual formed windows, sort of like you'd see in a styrene kit. But they definitely, I've done other resin kits with those type of windows, and they're truly a challenge. You really need to do it several times before you get proficient in being able to do those type of windows. It's not that it's impossible, it just is, it's really different when you have a model kit and you can just snap the window in place, and it's pretty easy. Also, with 3D prints, you don't get any kind of decaling, which on dashboards and stuff like that is kind of a shame, or badges on the exterior of the vehicle and whatnot. You can download images and stuff, print your own decals and whatnot. But, if you're used to just buying a kit and it's all inclusive, then yeah, of course, these sort of things add a little bit of challenge, but everything else is kind of the same. The process of like scribing and sanding and painting and et cetera, is all fairly similar to any kind of um, any kind of styrene kit. I just wanted to close off here by saying thank you so much for watching this video. I really enjoyed putting this one together. I love these K trucks. I think they're so cool. And there's a couple of different versions of this K truck available online as 3D prints, and Zoom On also has a really cool Pandem K Truck version that you can buy in resin directly from them. So if you're into these tiny little custom vehicles, I suggest checking them out. If you are interested in more about, learning more about 3D printing and whatnot, I seriously suggest checking out James's channel. I think he goes really deep into the whole process of how to print cars and parts and pieces and bodies, and it actually does a few of the assembly videos and whatnot as well. It's a really great way to get a glimpse into the whole process of generating your own kits from files from other designers and other people around the world. It's absolutely fascinating. Go watch his channel. The links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate each and every one of your views. Your comments and questions are definitely welcome. Using the comment section below, I do my best to answer every and all questions that you provide. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you want to see more builds from the Scale Auto Garage, and hit that bell notification so you're notified when I upload new videos. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next build.